Hi, my name is Mike Frye, Director of Instruction here at Westbrook Village Golf Club. Today we're going to be talking about your ball position. All right, so the first thing I want to talk about with your ball position is where it goes in your stance relative to your heels. So if I was to start with a sand wedge, or think of this as the shortest wedge in your bag, which may be a lob wedge, I always want this ball to be about the same position off of your left heel. In this case, I've got it about a club head width inside of my left heel, or just a couple inches, however you want to think of it. But what goes along with that is adjusting the width of your stance. So if I'm going to set up to a sand wedge, I'm going to have it relative to my left heel the same place, but I'm going to have a narrow stance, narrow being somewhere inside of your shoulders. If you're to look down at the outside of your heels, they're going to match up pretty closely to the outside of your shoulder width. That's a narrow stance. And when you compare that ball position to what you might be used to seeing, that is pretty much in the middle, but you're also getting the width of your stance right. That's why I like this technique where you actually keep it in the same place relative to your left heel. Now, if I was to go and grab a different club, so I'm going from a sand wedge to a 7-iron, I put the club down. I'm still going to have this ball about the same distance from my left heel, but rather than having that pretty narrow stance, I'm just going to take this right foot and move it back a little bit. So now I've got the width right, and I've got the ball position right. So now I've got a 7-iron. If this was the middle of my stance, it's very slightly ahead of center. And if I kept going with the same concept, moved on to a hybrid, put the club down, want to have this off the inside of my left heel, about a club head width. But now I want to take an even wider stance. And so when you compare it to my heels, now this ball is significantly closer to my left heel than my right heel, but I also have the width of my stance correct. And then if I kept going with a driver, I could still put that in the same place in my stance. Obviously a little bit bigger head here than what I had before, but if I just think of it as a couple inches there, take an even wider stance, now I've got the correct ball position for a driver. If you like, you can move a driver even further because it is on a tee, but for simplicity, you can just keep this technique very, very simple. Always have this left heel about 2 inches away from your line here, and just keep in mind that all you're really doing is adjusting the width of your stance, where your driver is going to be the widest stance and your sand wedge is going to be the narrowest stance. All right, so now we need to talk about how you determine how far away from the ball you're going to stand. So assuming your clubs are relatively fit for you, what you're actually going to do is you're going to set that club pretty flat to the ground, meaning you're going to put the sole of the ground pretty flat to the ground. Now, if you're going to favor one way or the other, if it's more comfortable for you, you can have the heel down slightly further. You never want the toe down further unless you're trying to hit some specialty shot around the green. But for these full shots, any shot we're taking a bigger swing, we want to have that club pretty flat or with the heel slightly down, and just slightly. And what that gets to have happen is if I put that club flat on the ground, that's going to tell me where I need to stand. From this point, based on the other videos we've done, if I let my arms hang down underneath my shoulders, I just keep moving until I meet where the grip is. That's how I determine how far I'm going to stand away. So if I put that in practice, this is my sand wedge. So you're going to see I'm pretty close to the ball based on the lie angle and length of club. If I moved on to a 7-iron, same thing. Put the club pretty flat on the ground. Again, if you're going to favor one way or the other, it'd go heel down. That tells me where the handle's going to be. Let my arms hang down. Find where my arms can hang down underneath my shoulders and meet the club. Now I'm slightly further than I was with my sand wedge. If I go on to my hybrid, more than likely with your woods, that heel is going to be down more than the toe. So if I go there, now I know where the grip is. Let my arms hang down underneath my shoulders. Now I'm significantly further away than I was with my 7-iron. And if I kept going with that, With a driver, which is going to be your longest club, again, with these woods, you're more than likely going to want that heel slightly down. Let your arms hang down underneath your shoulders. Find where you can stand and let your arms hang pretty much underneath your shoulders. Now I'm even further away. So if you could see, when I was hitting my sand wedge, I was all the way up here. When I was hitting my driver, I've moved significantly further away. Same as if you compared the length of your clubs. If I compare the length of my sand wedge to my driver, more than likely there's going to be about 9 or 10 inches difference between these two. So that's the basics of your ball position. Hopefully you can give that a try and you'll be on your way to better golf.